I remember seeing fantastic English medieval pots and being very excited by those, very simple forms. And I think in my functional ware that we've been making over the years, they're very simple forms. And I think the reason I'm drawn to that is because the surface of the soda glaze is so dynamic that too much decoration for me, you don't need to decorate it, it decorates itself. Or the fire does that. And for me, simpler forms are best for that. But I think when it came to sort of making more one-off pieces, some of the pieces that I made in the past, they're definitely inspired by kind of archaeological kind of stuff, you know, dug out, found things, you know, rather than directly. I really enjoy making tea jars actually, because I think they allow you to do something quite individual with each one really. You know, the different kind of marks that I make on things with these ledges really accentuate the glaze and the form, I think. And I'm not really a decorator at all. I don't decorate pots much. The most you'll ever get out of me decoration-wise is usually a kind of fairly spontaneous sort of mark. And so I would say, you know, I'm very much I'm a mark maker, not a decorator. You know, I think these kind of forms allow you to put that into practice, really. You know, it wouldn't necessarily work on other forms so well. Making challenge is kind of where it started for me with all this sort of thing, because it's very much hand cutting, you know, which is very different from the way that I made pots, which was, you know, production stuff and then, you know, using a metal tool to turn things, you know, using a wooden tool to hand cut things completely changes the way that you work, you know, and lots of spontaneity of the marks that you get from using the tool you know, happen. It's much more likely to happen with a tool like that than it is with sort of a metal turning tool, and you know, you're trying to get precision, you know. But I don't think I am that kind of person anyway. I'm not terribly accurate and precise about things. It's not to say I can't make things the same, I can. But you know, I prefer to respond to the clay itself or to the piece itself as you go on, you know. I don't want everything the same. Because I do this really kind of quite vigorously, for want of a better word, it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, because it's quite, you know, sometimes I'll go a bit too heavy on it. And because I want them to be fairly spontaneous, you know, some you miss, some you don't. But some interesting things happen, like you got that corner there, you know, so whether we can keep that, I don't know. And now what I do is stretch them out. When I first saw some of the pots in Japan, I kind of really couldn't understand them. Some of them incredibly, especially some of the Mino ones, and the Oribe, kind of very sort of horseshoe-shaped tea bowls. Very kind of wobbly and half collapsed sometimes, and I kind of, you know, they were kind of, I couldn't quite understand them. This is a national living treasure, this piece. How is that? But I think it took me some time to really absorb that and see how special those pots were. And there's one particular pot that has never left my frontal lobe. It was a Shino pot tea bowl with the most incredible glaze on it. It was a white sugary glaze with this red coming up, if you can imagine it, underneath the glaze itself. So somehow you could see this red underneath the white, and yet the white was quite thick and sugary. Made by Toizo Arakawa. And it just blew my mind, you know. It was just such an amazing pot. And I think it wasn't necessarily the form, it was just the whole thing together. And that really got me hooked on Shinos.